welcome back. As promised, we're now going to talk about the situation in Italy, Serie A, and also, as you know, with Adriano, who's got his finger on the pulse as far as Euro is concerned, Euro 2020. He joins me on the line. Well, Adriano, this comes as no surprise to you. I've been following your Twitter, and you've been calling for some time, saying safety first. And, of course, Italy was at the forefront of the first decisions. Tough decisions, but they made them well. So give us an update on what's going on in Milan, your take on it, and then lead us on to where we are with the Euro 2020, Euro Champions League, Europa League.
There is a lot to discuss there, Neil. A very busy time here in Italy and right around Europe, of course. And you are right. We did have the first situation here to really have to make a decision, and that we did. The initial decision made here in Italy was to suspend the fixtures for a month. First, it was no fans, then soon after it was suspend all fixtures until the commencement of April, which is after the current scheduled international break. There has been a lot of confusion around, and not only in sport, I'm talking in day-to-day life as well with this entire situation. And still, every day, every hour of every day, to be honest, there is new news that is coming out. And obviously, we've seen a number of sports now follow the lead that European football and initially Italian football has taken. But if we do talk about Italy and Europe specifically here for a moment, for the Serie A, no real clarity yet on what happens beyond April. But having said that, the Italian government and everyone involved here have taken the right steps to try and nullify the impact of this illness. We are currently in a nationwide lockdown, which I'm sure we can discuss a little more later. The issue with European football, as you touched on, now we have the Champions League and Europa League, which very recently were just confirmed they will be postponed. So next week's second legs in the Champions League and Europa League will not be played. And that is despite last night there were fixtures in the Europa League, of course, which I personally cannot believe went ahead. As for Euro 2020, well, look, at this point in time, so much football still to be played in the current season. Unless all the current domestic campaigns, Champions League and Europa League, were to be cancelled completely, according to me, there is no way possible that this Euro 2020 finals can take place in June. So a lot of work needs to be done, but first and foremost, the most important thing, of course, the public's health and safety.
Absolutely. And Euro 2020, there's a meeting scheduled, unless they bring it forward, the meeting scheduled for Tuesday. But obviously they will now react to the fact that we've heard the Premier League, in fact, all professional football in England is halted. Your league is halted. Spain is interesting. We're going to talk to Roman. At the moment, they've only made it match days 28, 29. They might have to also move on those items. So everything probably by next week, Tuesday, there'll be even more decisions having been made, and they will make a decision based on what's going on in Europe.
Correct. Well, initially when UEFA put the statement out suggesting they would be meeting on Tuesday, many around the world were questioning, why wait until Tuesday? Just make the obvious decisions now. And that obvious decision was the Champions League and Europa League, which now has been made. But yes, Tuesday will be the meeting to determine the future of Euro 2020. It is expected that it will be pushed back to 2021. However, that will be a logistical nightmare for those that need to organise that. There are a number of tournaments, both UEFA and FIFA related, in the summer of 2021. So I have no idea how they're going to sort that one out, but it will be something that will be discussed, and hopefully we have some clarity over very shortly. Domestically here, as it stands now, no football in England until that first weekend in April. It is the same case in Spain, actually. They've just got their wording a little wrong with that by postponing the next two match days, because the actual fact is the next two match days, so that includes this weekend and next weekend, are the two match days before the international break, as I said. So the international break essentially takes us up to the 4th of April there, and obviously with Serie A suspended until that point. But we are currently in a nationwide lockdown, which is a very strange experience, but it doesn't look like anything will be resumed anytime soon.
Getting on to Serie A in specifics, you've had, at the time of us broadcasting, 2 confirmed cases of the actual coronavirus within players.
That is correct. Daniele Rugani from Juventus was the first, Manolo Gabbiadini the second from Sampdoria. look, the situation is this, and the message that I suppose I would pass on to other parts of the world, which I actually did share a video online, Neil, you may have caught via Instagram and Twitter, is essentially that at this point in time, the social isolation side is the key. So you shouldn't wait in your respective country for a professional athlete to contract the illness, because there is no point in allowing it to even get to that point. Hence why I have been very vocal online in the fact that sporting competitions, public events should be cancelled immediately. There is no point whatsoever in running the risk. And the fact that two professional players in Italy and others around Europe, managers around Europe and politicians around the world and more are starting to contract the illness is a really alarming factor. And we obviously want to nullify the spread, as I mentioned earlier. But yeah, 2 confirmed cases at the moment. And as we've seen in other sports around the world, unfortunately, it looks likely that those figures will simply grow.
Yeah, one of the concerns perhaps that some people that have been speaking to me have had, and they recognise that all of these events mustn't go ahead, and perhaps they were a little bit tardy in making some of these decisions, but we saw the PGA, by the way, very quickly. They had the first round of the Players' Championship, which was held, and I think they saw the error of their ways, quickly have cancelled the players. On the back of that, you and I know, we've just gone on air and we found out that the Masters as well at Augusta has been postponed. But on the positive side, we saw Callum Hudson-Odoi saying, I've had the virus, I'm better. And I understand that he's a young, physical, athletic specimen, so he will recover quickly. But perhaps maybe governments across of Europe can do a little bit better in the case of reassuring people that that you can recover from this. That's not to say you should go out and automatically get it, but perhaps there should be a little bit reinforcement that it's not all doom and gloom, because then you get the scaremongering and the conspiracy theories, which doesn't help anybody.
Not at all. Now, this is a very complex part of this entire situation, because they are the facts. Callum Hudson-Odoi, Daniele Rugani also said, I feel completely fine. The issue with this, and what we have learned here on the ground in Italy, and the reason why Milan, Lombardia, the region in which Milan is based, and the entire country of Italy and its 60 million people are currently in full lockdown, is because that myself, someone who I consider myself to be young, fit and healthy, I can still actually contract the illness, show absolutely no symptoms whatsoever, but still pass it on to someone who's at more risk of being obviously suffering the serious form of consequence. Now, this is the issue. And what we saw initially here in Italy is that many people were just saying, well, it's just like a flu, I'm fine, I'll carry on my day-to-day life. And people were really going about their day-to-day life in a normal manner. We saw large gatherings of people. We saw people doing as they please on a regular day. And in the end, that is what has led to the significant spread here in Italy, hence why now we're in a lockdown. So I would, as I said, a very complex issue there. If you do contract the illness, the absolute key, once again, is being socially isolated and staying indoors. And that's why we're at a point now here in Milan and right across Italy whereby all stores, all shops are closed. We can only really leave our homes to go to a supermarket or to a pharmacy, and that's about it. And to try and avoid and prevent the rest of the world going down this path, the time to act is right now. And we've learned that here the hard way. But as I said, we are very hopeful that after this 2, 3, 4 week isolation countrywide, that we come out better for it.
Okay. Well, if you're bored, I'll try and send you an episode of The Weekender, our Saturday morning show, to keep you entertained tomorrow morning when we do it live. But on a serious note now, let me ask you the question, because Serie A, like all Premier League and like the Spanish La Liga, we're getting into an area where we don't know where we're going. What are the ramifications or possible ramifications of a cancelled league, of a suspended league, a postponed league? And of course, many Liverpool fans are waiting for your answer here, because they are thinking the absolute worst, as indeed would any other league, if there is the possibility of indeed the league as we know it being cancelled.
Well, this is the most complex of complex issues from a sporting perspective. What on earth happens next? Now, I can tell you here in Italy, there have been a few suggestions speculated at this point, but again, nothing confirmed. We still don't have enough information as to when the leagues will potentially resume. But I can tell you from a Serie A perspective at the moment, cancellation completely is certainly a possibility. We cannot rule that out because, again, we don't know how long this will continue. The bottom 4 compete and 3 are to be relegated. I don't think that is the way to go. I think that would would not warrant a champion out of that, particularly given the dominance of Juventus, Lazio, and Inter atop of the table. But they are the options at this point which are being discussed. I do believe, though, that if the situation does ease here, they will certainly look to pack in fixtures, as many as they can, in the months of May, June, and even play right into the summer in July. And that will, of course, guarantee Euro 2020 quite possibly becomes Euro 2021. So it's, look, a lot of things need to happen before we get to that point, but the Serie A will meet to discuss and explore these options very soon.
You know, I just heard a double thump in the studio here. It was as two Liverpool fans who work here fainted. Because can you imagine Liverpool being told they have to go into a playoff, the top four, to decide who's going to win the league off? They've been waiting so long. I mean, that is desperate. But the truth of the matter is we don't know. We can only speculate. But the first and foremost thing is, as humans, we have to be safe. We have to put as you mentioned, those that are open, that have immune deficiency or immune complications, they have to be at first. Just because the rest of the population is healthy, we have to look after them. So that is the starting point, which you've been adamant in saying for 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And Jurgen Klopp came out very recently and said it best. He said football is absolutely secondary in this case. And he knows his Liverpool side are very close to that Premier League title. They will get it at some point in some way, shape or form. It will be credited to Liverpool, I'm sure. But at this point in time, we need to do the right things here, to look after the public and ensure that the health and safety is the only thing on people's minds. But from a football perspective, I'm certain they will figure it out. And when the time is right, they will find a way to complete these campaigns. And that will require, as I said, Euro 2020 to be officially postponed. Okay,
Adriano, thank you very much. I'll let you get back to your apartment. I don't know if you're going to move into another room for the next day or whatever. What's it actually like? Give us a personal... I mean, you're in lockdown there. How are you dealing with it from a personal point of view? What's happening?
Yeah, well, not much is happening, to be honest. It's very much each day is the same. But look, I'm getting by. Just doing some cooking, trying some new things, watching some television, watching a few Euro Connect reruns. I've got it all. It's no problem whatsoever. So just doing the right thing of what we've been asked and ensuring that we're all doing our bit to help overcome this situation.
Well, it's good to see you in good spirits and healthy, most importantly. Adriano, thanks very much. Adriano talking to us. He is, of course, live from Milan, where he is really in the heart of it. And we thank him for keeping a smile on his dial. Can't be easy, of course, but he called it, and he's been spot on as to the developments that happened over the last 2 weeks. Well, we have one last visit to find out what's going on in Spain. Roman is going to be joining me after the break as we talk La Liga. Stay with us. This is Euro Connect.